Hello, we're reading from Ideas and Opinions by Albert Einstein. I picked this book up in DC years ago for like $5, and I couldn't believe it. I thought it was a mistake. So I ran to the cashier and ran out of there. You know. On education. From an address at Albany, New York, on the occasion of the celebration of tercentenary of higher education in America. October 15, 1936, translated by Lena Aronet, published in Out of My Later Years, New York Philosophical Library, 1950. A day of celebration generally is in the first place dedicated to retrospect, especially to the memory of personages who have gained special distinction for the development of the cultural life. This friendly service for our predecessors must indeed not be neglected, particularly as such a memory of the best of the past is proper to stimulate the well-dispossessed of today to a courageous effort. But this should be done by someone who, from his youth, has been connected with this state and is familiar with its past, not by one who, like a gypsy, has wandered about and gathered his experiences in all kinds of countries. Thus, there is nothing else left for me but to speak about such questions as, or to speak about such questions as, independently of space and time, always have been and will be connected with educational matters. In this attempt, I cannot lay any claim to being an authority, especially as intelligent and well-meaning men of all times have dealt with educational problems and have certainly repeatedly expressed their views clearly about their matters. From what source I, as a partial layman in the realm of pedagogy, derive courage to expound opinions with no foundation except personal experience and personal conviction. If it were really a scientific matter, one would probably be tempted to silence by such considerations. However, with affairs of active human beings, it is different. Here, knowledge of truth alone does not suffice. On the contrary, this knowledge must continually be renewed by ceaseless effort if it is not to be lost. It resembles a statue of marble which stands in the desert and is continuously threatened with burial by the shifting sand. The hands of service must ever be at work in order that the marble continue lastingly to shine in the sun. To these serving hands mine also shall belong. The school has always been the most important means of transferring the wealth of tradition from one generation to the next. This applies today in an even higher degree than in former times. For through modern development of the economic life, the family as barrier of tradition and education has been weakened. The continuance and health of human society is therefore in a still higher degree dependent on the school than formerly. Sometimes one sees in the school simply the instrument for transferring a certain maximum quantity of knowledge to the growing generation. But that is not right. Knowledge is dead. The school, however, serves the living. It should develop in the young individuals those qualities and capabilities which are of value for the welfare of the commonwealth. But that does not mean that individuality should be destroyed and that the individual become a mere tool of the community, like a bee or an ant. For a community of standardized individuals without personal originality and personal aims would be a poor community without possibilities for development. On the contrary, the aim must be the training of independently acting and thinking individuals who, however, see in the service of the community their highest life problem. So far as I can judge, the English school system comes nearest to the realization of this ideal. But how shall one try to attain this ideal? Should one perhaps try to realize this aim by moralizing? Not at all. Words are and remain an empty sound, and the road to perdition has ever been accompanied by lip service to an ideal. But personalities are not formed by what is heard and said, but by labor and activity. So we'll pick up. Um, we'll pick up on. Well, let's keep going. The most important method of education, accordingly, always had consisted of that in which the pupil was urged to actually performance. This applies as well to the first attempts at writing of the primary boy as to the doctor's thesis on graduation from the university, or as to the mere memorizing of a poem, the writing of a composition, the interpretation and translation of a text, the solving of a mathematical problem, or the practice of physical sport. And so, does that sound like any school you've been to? And now that the schools are going to be closing down, I hope they stay closed forever. We need to start building institutions that come closer to what Einstein is saying, and I'm doing that. And I thank you for supporting that. And I ask you, please, to take care of your mind, take care of your body, and to be safe.